Everyone has had a hobby. At the beginning, most people will be terrible, and this isn't everyone, but eventually, when someone sees the work you've done, they'll say, "You could sell these." And here's the thing, they meant it kindly, it's a compliment, but I want you to notice how fast it arrives. Most people haven't gotten good yet, and already the question wasn't, "Is this fun?" It was, "Is this worth anything?" That sentence is everywhere now. Learn to bake, start a bakery, take nice photos, open a print shop, buy a second-hand camera, a yarn set, a pasta machine, and within a month, someone, somewhere, a friend, relative, on an app, will suggest you turn it into money. Somewhere along the way, hobbies stopped being hobbies. They became side hustles waiting to happen. So that's the question for the next 12 minutes. When did relaxing become a business opportunity, and what is that actually doing to us? Let's get our terms straight, because the whole argument lives in a gap between two words. A hobby, at least the way I mean it, has three features. You do it for its own sake, nobody grades it, and it's important to you. You're allowed to be bad at it, like Sunday League football, artwork that never gets finished, an overly baked cake that gets one bite and thrown straight into the bin. The output is not the point, the doing is the point. Side hustle is often the exact same activity, but now it has KPIs, income, followers, orders, a posting schedule, and consistency. Baking bread on a Sunday afternoon is a hobby. A sourdough Instagram with a content calendar and a target of 3 reels a week is a job. An unpaid one, at least at first, but a job. And notice the activity didn't change. What changed is the relationship. One version answers to you, and the other version answers to the audience, an algorithm, and customers. Now, obviously there's a spectrum. Selling one painting doesn't turn art into a business, and I'm not here to police anyone's Etsy shop. What this video is about is the pull, the cultural gravity that drags every activity towards the hustle end of the spectrum, until keeping something amateur starts to feel like a failure of ambition. So here's the route. First, how we got here. Then, what monetizing a hobby actually does to your head. And there's a real psychology on this. It's fascinating and a little bleak. And finally, whether you can ever get a hobby back once it's became a job. Now, let's move on to how we got here. Let's start with the most important cause, because it's the most serious topic. Money is tight. Wages have spent years losing a foot race against rent, bills, and the price of everything. For millions of people, a side hustle isn't a lifestyle choice or a personality quirk, it's how some survive the month. Finder.com mentions 46% of UK adults have a side hustle as an additional source of income in 2026. And of those, 28% of their main motivation for their side hustle is to make extra money to cover day-to-day costs. Their income is not for fun, it is essential. I want to be really clear about this. Nothing in this video is aimed at people hustling because they have to. If your hobby is keeping your lights on, that's not a cultural disease. That's resourcefulness. The disease is what's happening around that. To everyone else, because financial pressure explains why people need side hustles. It doesn't explain why we've started treating every unmonetized hobby as a wasted opportunity. For that, you need 2 more reasons. Reason 2, selling became effortless. A generation ago, turning your hobby into income meant real friction, a market stall, and small ads in the local paper. The friction acted as a filter. You had to really want it. Now, Etsy, Depop, Vinted, eBay, Fiverr. The distance between I made a thing and I am a person who sells things is one photo in a description box, and the platforms are neutral about it. They want your hobby. Every app now has a seller program, a creator fund, a start earning button glowing in the corner. Of course they do, your hobby is their inventory. Reason 3, and this is the one that gets into your bloodstream. Hustle became an identity. You know the genre, the 5 AM routine, the while you were sleeping, I was building posts. An entire content economy of people whose product is telling you to have a product. And look, it's easy to laugh at, but drip that message into culture for 15 years and something shifts. The background assumption becomes time that doesn't produce money, growth, or content is time wasted. So everything became sellable, and everyone became a brand. Fine, but here's the part the turn your passion into profit crowd never mentions: what the profit does to the passion. In 1973, three psychologists, Lepper, Green, and Nisbet, ran an experiment at a nursery school on children who loved drawing. They split these kids into groups. One group was promised a shiny good player certificate for drawing. Another group just drew the way they always had, no reward and no deal. A week or two later, the researchers watched the children during free play. The kids who'd been promised a reward for drawing, they now drew significantly less than the kids who'd never drawn for rewards at all. The certificate had quietly rewired the activity in their brain. Drawing used to be play, now it was work, and nobody does work for free. Psychologists call this the over-justification effect, and it's one of the most quietly devastating findings I know of. Rewarding someone for a thing they already loved can make them love it less. The reward doesn't add to the joy, it replaces it. Now, those were 4-year-olds with drones. We are adults with analytic dashboards. What do you think happens to us? The reward doesn't have to be money. It can be likes, follower counts, 5-star reviews. The first time you check the numbers on something you used to do purely for joy, you signed the same deal those kids signed. And the question changes shape without your permission. It used to be, do I like this? It becomes, will they like this? Those are different questions. They have different answers, and only one of them was ever about you. The metrics start redesigning the hobby itself. The person who painted whatever they felt like starts painting what sells. The knitter who used to experiment makes the same best-selling scarf for the millionth time, because that's what the shop needs. The home cook stops making the ugly delicious stuff and starts making the photogenic stuff. From the outside, the hobby looks identical, but the freedom inside it, the experimenting, the failing, the being cheerfully mediocre is gone. Because failure used to cost nothing, now failure has a unit price. And here's the truly insidious part. You don't even have to monetize anything for this to get you. The culture does it on a spec. You're reading a book and the little voice says to you, you should stop posting reviews. You're on a walk and catch yourself thinking, this would be good content. You finish a painting and feel a flicker of guilt that no one saw it. As if joy that goes unwitnessed doesn't fully count. That voice is a boss. You've never applied for the job, there's no salary, and there's no clocking out. Rest starts to feel like slacking at work. At a job that doesn't exist. Now, let me argue against myself, because there's a version of this video that's just a rant and the topic deserves better. Side hustles have genuinely changed lives. People who have heard, you could sell these, might have been the best sentence they've heard in their lives. The baker whose weekend loaves became an actual bakery. The illustrator who quit his job that he hated, and now he can fully cover his rent from the commission he makes. There's a real pride in being paid for your craft. For a lot of people it's the first time their skill felt seen, and going public with a hobby creates communities that no private hobby ever could. Forums, clubs, entire friendships built on a shared obsession, none of that is fake. So let me concede the point fully. The problem is not earning money for what you love. If that's you and it's working, and the thing still brings you joy, that's not selling out, that's a dream, and I mean that. The problem is smaller and sneakier than monetization is bad. The problem is a culture where monetizing has become the default, where what do you do at the weekends is reflexively followed by you should sell that, where every pastime is assessed for its earning potential within weeks. Maybe the most radical thing you can do in 2026 is be gloriously, deliberately unproductive. Now, as I get older and live in the UK, I can definitely see where money can be tight. As a uni student who also has a part-time job, money doesn't come in very often, and when it does, it doesn't last too long. So trust me, I've looked over so many different types of side hustles and looked into what hobbies I do that could actually make us money. Now this is when this channel comes into play, where I've decided for this to be a hobby that could bring money in. Making YouTube videos like this, I'm able to tick off a passion and also be able to make money from it as well. Even though this channel is new and I won't be making any money from it just yet, maybe in the future I will be able to. Now here's where I've landed. Hobbies matter because they're pointless. They are the one corner of adult life with no boss, no metric, and no audience. The last room in the house where nobody's watching. A life where every hour has to justify itself economically is a life with no slack in it. And people need slack. It's not laziness, it's load bearing. So keep one thing that's just yours, that doesn't have a shop, no page, no analytics, one thing you can do badly in private for no reason forever. Turns out, you could sell this was never an interesting question. The interesting question is, could you not? Thank you for watching. Now if there's any topics you'd like for me to cover next, comment them down below. And don't forget to subscribe and like.